Hello everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you all are well and ready to hear something inspiring today. This is not just a story. It's a story about learning, about growing, and about how one small decision can change your life. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt afraid to speak English? Have you ever wanted to say something but stayed silent because you were not sure of the right words? If yes, then this story is for you. Today, I want to share a powerful story about a young learner named Daniel. Daniel was not born in an English-speaking country. In fact, he used to struggle with even the simplest English sentences. But something happened, something that changed everything. And that something could happen to you too. In this story, you will learn new English words, hear simple conversations, and most importantly, you will learn that you can become confident in English, step by step, day by day. So sit back, relax, and listen closely. Because by the end of this story, you may feel more inspired to speak English than ever before. Let's begin. Let me tell you a story about a boy named Daniel. Daniel lived in a small, quiet town in Brazil, a place full of green hills, simple houses, and kind people who smiled easily, but where very few people spoke English. From the time he was young, Daniel always dreamed of something bigger. He wanted to understand the world, meet people from different countries, and travel to places he had only seen in movies. But there was just one problem. He couldn't speak English. Now, maybe this sounds familiar to you. Maybe you've felt the same way. That's why I want to tell you Daniel's story. Because maybe, just maybe, it will inspire you to keep going. In school, Daniel tried to study English, but the lessons were difficult and boring. The teacher would write grammar rules on the board, past tense, present perfect, modal verbs, and Daniel would write them down in his notebook. But he didn't really understand how to use them in real conversations. He memorized word lists, but when it was time to speak, he froze. His heart beat fast, his hands got sweaty, and he felt so nervous that sometimes he just stayed quiet, hoping no one would notice. He thought, maybe I'm not good at languages. Maybe English is just not for me. And let me be honest with you, he almost gave up. His parents worked hard in a small fruit shop and supported him the best they could, but they didn't speak English either. So when Daniel tried to practice at home, no one could help him. Sometimes he watched English videos on his phone, but the people spoke so fast, and the subtitles moved so quickly that he couldn't understand much. He felt lost. He felt like English was a mountain that was just too high to climb. But even with all that, something deep inside Daniel kept telling him not to quit. One day, on his way home from school, Daniel stopped in front of a travel agency. On the window, there were big posters, beautiful pictures of London, New York, and Sydney. He stood there for a long time, just looking. He saw people walking through city streets, speaking English, smiling, laughing, holding coffee cups, going to work, meeting friends, and he thought to himself, I wish I could be there. I wish I could talk like them. But then, almost immediately, another voice in his mind said, but I can't. My English isn't good enough. I'm just a boy from a small town. Maybe you've had that same feeling. Maybe you've looked at someone who speaks English fluently and thought, that will never be me. If you've ever thought that, let me tell you, you're not alone. Daniel felt that way too. But here's the important part. Even when he was afraid, even when he felt small, he didn't stop completely. Slowly, quietly, he kept going. He didn't study for hours every day. He didn't have a private tutor. But he made one small decision. He decided to try, just a little, every single day. He downloaded a free English learning app on his phone. He started watching short videos with subtitles, easy ones with slow English. He began writing simple sentences in a notebook. My name is Daniel. I like music. I want to speak English. These sentences weren't perfect, but they were his. They were real, and they were the beginning of something bigger. Now, one evening, something special happened. Daniel was feeling tired, a little sad, and almost ready to quit again. But as he was scrolling through his phone, he found a video, just like the one you're watching right now. It was a motivational story, told in easy English, and the speaker said something that touched his heart. They said, "You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin." Daniel listened to the video once. Then he listened again. He paused it. He repeated the words out loud. He didn't understand everything, but he felt something. He felt hope, and that hope changed everything. That night, Daniel wrote something on a piece of paper and taped it to the wall above his desk. It said, "I believe in myself. I can speak English." That was the moment his journey really began. Not with a fancy course or expensive books, just with belief. Just with the decision to never give up. And my friend, if Daniel can do it, you can too. So, after Daniel made that simple promise to himself, to believe, to try, and to keep going, his life began to change. Not all at once, not overnight, but slowly and powerfully, like the sun rising after a long, dark night. He didn't suddenly become fluent, and he didn't wake up speaking perfect English, but something inside him had shifted. That small light of confidence he had started to grow stronger each day, and he was ready to take his English learning seriously. Not because someone told him to, but because he finally wanted it for himself. Every morning before school, even if it was just for 5 or 10 minutes, Daniel listened to a short English podcast. He chose simple ones with slow speech and clear pronunciation. At first, he only understood a few words here and there, but instead of feeling frustrated, he started writing those words down in a notebook, reading them again and again throughout the day. He began to repeat the sentences out loud, alone in his room, pretending he was speaking to a real person. At first, it felt a little strange, but soon it became his favorite part of the day. In school, when his English teacher asked a question, Daniel still felt nervous, but he started raising his hand more often, even if he wasn't 100% sure of the answer. Sometimes he made mistakes, and sometimes his classmates laughed, but something amazing happened. He didn't care. Not because it didn't hurt, but because he finally understood that making mistakes was not the end. It was the beginning of growth. You see, Daniel realized something that I want you to understand too. You don't need to be perfect to make progress. You just need to show up every day, even with broken English, even with fear in your heart, and speak anyway. Every word you say, every sentence you write, every time you listen to English, even when it feels difficult, it's like watering a seed. And one day, that seed will grow into something beautiful. Daniel also changed the way he used his phone. Instead of scrolling through social media all day, he followed English learning pages. Instead of watching random videos, he subscribed to channels that helped him learn. Instead of chatting only in Portuguese, he found simple English groups where he could write short messages, ask questions, and connect with other learners. He was building a world around English, step by step. One afternoon, something very special happened. Daniel was walking through town when he saw a tourist, an older man with a map, looking confused. The man clearly didn't speak Portuguese, and he looked a little lost. For a moment, Daniel hesitated. His heart started beating fast. What if I say something wrong? He thought. What if I embarrass myself? But then he remembered the promise he made to himself. He took a deep breath, walked over to the man, and said, "Hello, sir. Do you need help?" The man smiled with relief and said, "Yes, I'm looking for the museum." Now, Daniel didn't know how to say everything he wanted, but he pointed, used simple words, and even made some hand gestures. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. The man thanked him with a big smile and said, "Your English is very good, young man." And at that moment, Daniel felt something he had never felt before: pride. He walked home with a smile on his face that day, not because he had spoken perfect English, but because he had spoken at all. He had faced his fear, used the English he knew, and helped someone in real life. And that moment, that small success, gave him the confidence to keep going. From that day, Daniel became even more motivated. He started reading simple English books, watching English shows with subtitles, and practicing every day. He found a language partner online, someone from another country who wanted to learn Portuguese, and they helped each other by chatting in both languages. He laughed at his mistakes, learned new words daily, and most importantly, he never stopped. You know, sometimes we think confidence comes first, but actually, it comes second. First comes courage. The courage to try, to fail, and to try again. That's what Daniel discovered. That's what you can discover too. And here's the beautiful part. People around Daniel started to notice. His English teacher praised his progress. His classmates started asking him for help. His parents, even though they didn't speak English, felt proud of how far he had come. And Daniel, who once felt too scared to speak one sentence, now dreamed of giving a speech in English someday. So let me ask you now, what's stopping you? You don't need perfect grammar to start. You don't need a big vocabulary to have a conversation. You don't need to be the best. You just need to begin. Like Daniel, you can change your story too. And one day, someone might hear your story and feel inspired to start their own journey. Now, let me tell you something very important. Something that many people don't talk about when it comes to learning English, or any language, really. We often celebrate the success, the progress, the happy moments when everything goes well. But we don't always talk about the hard days, the moments when you feel stuck, when you feel like nothing is working, when you start to wonder, am I wasting my time? Well, Daniel had those days too. And I want to share that part of the story with you, because I know some of you might be going through the same thing right now. You see, even after Daniel began to feel more confident, even after he helped that tourist and felt proud of his progress, the journey didn't stay easy. There were days when he woke up tired, days when schoolwork piled up, and he had no energy left to study English. There were times when he listened to a podcast and didn't understand anything at all. There were moments when he tried to write in English, but the words just didn't come out the way he wanted. And every time that happened, the old voice in his head returned. The voice that whispered, "You'll never be fluent." You're too slow. You're not smart enough. And you know what? That voice was loud sometimes. It made Daniel feel frustrated. It made him close his books and throw his notebook across the room once. It made him stop practicing for 3 whole days. He didn't quit completely, but he started avoiding English, avoiding videos, avoiding speaking, avoiding mistakes. He felt embarrassed, like maybe he was lying to himself the whole time. But then something powerful happened. One evening, Daniel sat in his room staring at the paper he had taped to the wall months ago, the one that said, "I believe in myself. I can speak English." And in that quiet moment, he asked himself one simple question. Why did I start? He remembered the little boy he used to be, the boy who stood in front of the travel agency, dreaming about faraway cities. He remembered the day he helped the lost tourist. He remembered how good it felt to understand even one sentence of English after trying so hard. And suddenly, he realized something. Progress is not a straight line. Some days you feel like you're climbing a mountain. Other days, it feels like you're sliding back down. But even when it feels like you're going backward, you're still on the path. You're still in the game. You're still moving. So Daniel made a new promise to himself. He said, "I will not be perfect, but I will be consistent. I will not speak English without mistakes. But I will keep speaking. I will not always feel motivated, but I will not give up." And that, my friends, is where the real growth began. Daniel started creating a daily routine that worked for him, something simple but powerful. Every morning before breakfast, he spent just 10 minutes listening to English. During lunch, he wrote a few sentences in his notebook. At night before bed, he read a page from an English storybook. It wasn't a lot, but it was every day. And because it was every day, those little drops became a river. He also stopped being afraid of mistakes. He changed the way he thought about them. Instead of seeing them as failures, he started seeing them as signs of progress. If he made a mistake, that meant he was trying. If he said something wrong, that meant he was learning. He started laughing at his mistakes instead of hiding from them. And because of that, he started speaking more and worrying less. One day at school, the English teacher gave a special assignment. Each student had to prepare a short speech in English and present it in front of the class. When Daniel heard this, his heart dropped. The fear came rushing back, the same fear he used to feel when he couldn't say even one sentence. But then he remembered his promise. So he went home, wrote his speech, practiced in front of the mirror, and recorded himself several times. He stumbled. He corrected himself. He worked hard. And when the day came to present, he stood in front of his classmates, his voice shaking, hands a little sweaty, but he spoke every word. Not perfectly, but clearly, honestly, with heart. When he finished, the room was silent for a second. Then his teacher started clapping, and slowly, everyone else did too. That moment, it changed everything. Because Daniel didn't just speak English that day. He stood up to fear. He proved to himself that he could do hard things. And maybe that's what you need to hear right now. Maybe you've been stuck. Maybe your English doesn't sound like what you want it to sound like. Maybe your confidence is low. But I want you to remember, you are not alone, and you are not broken. You are learning. You are growing. And you are doing something brave. Daniel's story teaches us that success isn't about never struggling. It's about showing up again and again, even when it's difficult. It's about saying, "Today I will try. Today I will speak. Today I will learn. And doing it, even for just a few minutes. So if today is a hard day for you, I want you to think of Daniel. I want you to remember that your struggle is not the end. It's part of the story. It's the part that will make your success even more meaningful later. Don't give up. Not now. Not ever. Because English isn't just a language. It's a door. And when you keep going, when you stay on the path, you will walk through that door and find a new world waiting for you. After that day, after Daniel gave his first English speech in front of his classmates and received that warm applause, something inside him changed forever. It was like a new world had opened up, a world that had always been there, but that he could never reach before. A world where he wasn't afraid of English anymore. A world where his voice mattered. A world where dreams started to feel real. You know, it's amazing how just one moment of courage can give birth to so many new opportunities. For Daniel, that one speech was just the beginning. His teacher noticed his effort and recommended him for an after-school English program that worked with international volunteers. When Daniel walked into that class for the first time and saw native English speakers smiling and welcoming him, he felt nervous, of course, but he also felt something else: ready. At first, he only listened during the lessons, taking notes, smiling politely. But one day, one of the volunteers asked him directly, "So, Daniel, tell us, what's your dream?" And he paused. He had never been asked that in English before. The words weren't perfect, and his grammar was all over the place. But slowly he replied, "My dream is to travel the world, to meet new people, and maybe to help others learn English too." The whole room smiled. The volunteer clapped and said, "That's beautiful, and you can do it. And I want to tell you the same thing today. You can do it too. Maybe your dream is to study abroad. Maybe it's to get a better job. Maybe it's to watch a movie without subtitles, or talk to someone you love who speaks English. Whatever your reason is, never forget it. Because your reason is your fire. And when you keep that fire burning, no challenge can stop you." As time passed, Daniel started to enjoy things he never thought he would. He began watching English movies, not just for fun, but as a tool to learn. He paused and repeated sentences, learned new expressions, and even laughed at jokes he finally understood. He started writing little diary entries in English, one paragraph a day. And when he looked back after a month, he couldn't believe how much he had improved. He also found joy in helping others. Some of his classmates who used to laugh at him now came to him for advice. He became someone others looked up to, not because he was perfect, but because he kept going. One of the most beautiful moments came during a school event when students had to guide a group of foreign visitors around the campus. Daniel was chosen to lead one of the tours, and he spoke with confidence and kindness, explaining the school in English, answering questions, and even making a few jokes. One of the visitors said, "You speak like someone who really loves this language." And Daniel smiled and replied, "Yes, I do. Because it changed my life. And I want to pause here for a second, because maybe some of you need to hear this again. English can change your life. Not just because it opens doors for travel or jobs or education, but because it helps you grow. It teaches you patience, discipline, courage, and confidence. It teaches you that even if you're scared, even if you make mistakes, you can still rise and speak and connect with the world. Daniel's confidence began to grow in other parts of his life too. His grades improved, not just in English, but in other subjects, because he started believing in his own potential. His family noticed the change. His parents, who once worried about his silence, now saw a young man full of energy, with a vision and a plan. They didn't speak English, but they were proud of him. They could see how learning English had not just taught him a language, it had given him a voice. And here's something really beautiful. Daniel started a small English club at his school. He invited students who were shy, just like he had been. Every week, they met in a classroom after school and practiced together. They read stories, played vocabulary games, listened to songs, and gave each other encouragement. Daniel wasn't just learning anymore, he was teaching. And by helping others, he became even stronger. I remember something he told me once, and I want to share it with you. He said, "I used to think learning English was a mountain I could never climb. But then I realized it's not about jumping to the top. It's about taking one step every day, even when it rains, even when you're tired, even when it feels like you're going nowhere. Because if you keep walking, one day you'll look back and see how far you've come." That message, my friend, is for you. If you're feeling stuck, keep walking. If you're feeling afraid, speak anyway. If you're feeling lost, remember your dream. Because your journey with English is not just about learning a language. It's about discovering what you're capable of. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. Daniel's story isn't over, of course. He's still learning. He still makes mistakes. But he's no longer afraid. He has built something stronger than vocabulary and grammar. He has built belief. And I believe in you, too.